He hadn't planned to stop at the store that day. The sky was gray, the wind bit through his coat, and Jack Donovan just wanted to get home, pour himself a glass of something strong, and pretend the holidays weren't happening. But the fridge was empty, like everything else in his life lately, so here he was. Line 4. Checkout. And then he saw her. A young woman. Faded jacket. Thin gloves with holes in the fingers. 2 kids beside her, quiet, polite, far too still for children. She stood at the register, holding her wallet like it might whisper a miracle. On the conveyor belt, a loaf of bread, 2 cans of soup, a pack of diapers, and milk. Not much more. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "Can we just take off the milk?" The boy's face fell. The girl looked down at her shoes. Jack heard the beeping stop. The cashier rolled her eyes and tapped the screen. The woman smiled, small and apologetic, handing over a few crumpled bills. She didn't look around. She didn't want witnesses. But Jack was watching. And something twisted in his chest. He stepped forward. "Add the milk," he said to the cashier. She turned, startled. "Sir." "I said, add it." He pulled out his card and tapped it before anyone could argue. The woman turned to him, eyes wide. "You don't have to." "I know," he cut her off. "Merry Christmas." She blinked, stunned. Then nodded. "Thank you, sir." The boy echoed her. "Thank you." Jack gave a quick nod and walked away before they could say more. He didn't do hugs. Or tears. He wasn't trying to be some kind of hero. He just didn't want to watch a child lose milk 2 weeks before Christmas. He left the store with nothing in his own hands. That night, Jack sat in his dimly lit kitchen, eating takeout straight from the carton. The TV buzzed in the background, some holiday movie he wasn't watching. But his mind kept going back. To her hands shaking as she counted the change. To the way the little girl had clutched the can of soup like it was treasure. To her voice, quiet, proud, unwilling to beg. Most people would have walked right past her. He nearly did. He used to believe life was fair. That if you worked hard, you'd be okay. But maybe that wasn't true anymore. He poured another drink. He couldn't even remember the last time someone had looked at him the way that boy had, with wide, grateful eyes. Outside, snow had started to fall. And across town, in a tiny apartment above a laundromat, a mother tucked her kids into bed, whispered a prayer, and wrote something carefully on a piece of paper she would never have thought she'd send. A note of thanks. Not because someone paid for her milk. But because, for the first time in a long time, someone saw her. And it mattered. Jack Donovan wasn't used to receiving packages. He didn't order things online. Didn't celebrate birthdays. Most people had stopped sending him anything years ago. And he liked it that way. So when he opened his front door and saw the small cardboard box sitting on the porch the next morning, he just stared at it. No name. No return address. Just a neatly taped box with his house number written in black marker. He looked up and down the street. Nothing. No footsteps in the snow except his own from earlier. The neighborhood was still asleep, cloaked in that heavy morning silence December brings, when everything is too cold to move quickly. He brought the box inside, still unsure. He set it down on the kitchen table, opened it slowly, and stopped. Inside, nestled on a folded dish towel, was a handmade Christmas card. Thick paper, edges uneven. Drawn in bright crayon. A stick figure man, tall, smiling, standing next to a stick figure woman and two kids, all holding hands. Above their heads, in crooked letters. "Thank you, Mr." Jack's throat tightened. Beneath the drawing was a small note, written in a soft, feminine hand. "We don't have much to give, but your kindness meant more than you'll ever know. You reminded my kids that good people still exist. That mattered. Thank you, from all three of us. M." Under the card was a clear plastic container. Homemade cookies, oatmeal, maybe. Some were slightly burned. Others cracked in half. Jack stared at them like they were gold. He pulled out a chair and sat down slowly, the card trembling in his hand. It had been a long time since someone had thanked him for anything. A longer time since someone had drawn him smiling. That day, he couldn't concentrate. He tried answering emails from the logistics company he still technically ran, but everything on the screen blurred. He opened and closed tabs without reading. Eventually, he just shut the laptop and looked out the window. The box. The card. The children. That moment in the store had lasted less than 2 minutes. He had walked away thinking it meant nothing. But for them, it clearly had. And for the first time in years, he felt something stirring inside, something dangerously close to warmth. He needed to know who they were. The next afternoon, he returned to the grocery store. It was busy, the usual holiday chaos, but he spotted the cashier from before. A teenager, gum-chewing, uninterested. "Hey," Jack said, keeping his voice low. "The woman from yesterday, young, 2 kids. She left in a hurry. Any idea where she lives?" The kid shrugged. "We don't keep addresses, man." Jack nodded, expected as much. He slipped a 20 across the counter. "Anything you remember helps." The kid hesitated, then muttered, "She walked east. Crossed by the train tracks. Could be the apartments above Wash and Dry. That's where a lot of moms live." Jack left without buying anything. He found the building easily. A faded green 2-story walk-up above a coin laundry, tucked between a pawn shop and a diner. Rusted stairs, cracked windows, faint smell of detergent. Jack paused at the entrance. He didn't know what he was going to say. He didn't even know her name. But he climbed the steps anyway. There were 6 doors. He hesitated, then knocked on 2B. No answer. He tried the next. And the next. At 2F, the door opened just a crack. Brown eyes peeked out. Then widened. Maya Rivera stared at him, stunned. Jack cleared his throat. "Hi. I didn't mean to bother you. I just got your box." She opened the door fully now. Still cautious, but polite. Behind her, he saw the little boy, Lucas, he thought, sitting cross-legged on the floor with a puzzle. The girl was drawing on the wall calendar with markers. Maya stepped into the hallway. "I hope that wasn't too much. We just wanted to say thank you." "You did," Jack said. "Very much." They stood in silence for a moment. She wrapped her arms around herself, a gesture more protective than cold. "Listen," he said finally. "I have a business. It's nothing fancy. But we're looking for a front desk person. Answering calls, keeping things running. Flexible hours." Her eyes flickered. "You're offering me a job?" "Yes. Because I said thank you. Because you have kids to feed. And because you reminded me what decent looks like." Maya hesitated. I'm not looking for charity. Neither am I, Jack said quietly. I'm looking for someone I can trust to show up. You showed up for them. That's enough for me. She looked back at the apartment. Her children, her life, her fragile dignity. Then she smiled, just a little. Let me think about it. Of course. Jack turned to leave, but paused. Tell the little artist thanks for the portrait. Maya laughed, a short, surprised sound, and closed the door gently. Back home, Jack made himself a coffee and sat at the table, staring again at the drawing. It wasn't about the groceries anymore. It was about the feeling that for once, he hadn't just passed someone by. He had stopped. And maybe, just maybe, something had started. The call came just after 7 a.m. Maya was pouring cereal for the kids when her phone rang, a strange number, unfamiliar. She almost didn't answer. Almost. Hello. A shaky voice on the other end. Weak. Breathless. Maya, it's Jack. Her heart dropped. Jack. What? He was struggling to speak. Each word came out like sand through clenched teeth. Something's not right. Chest. Can't breathe. Maya's instincts kicked in. She grabbed her coat, yelled for the neighbor to watch the kids, and ran. She'd never been to his house before, only knew the address from the business card he'd once given her. A quiet street. Brick house. Empty driveway. She banged on the door. Nothing. Then she saw it, the side gate open, the back door ajar. Jack. She found him on the kitchen floor. Pale. Clammy. Eyes unfocused. You called me instead of 911, she gasped, kneeling beside him. He tried to smile. Meant to, hit favorites, not thinking straight. She didn't waste another second. Called the ambulance, stayed with him, held his hand as he slipped in and out of consciousness. Stay with me, Jack. Look at me. He did. And somehow, he made it. 2 days later, Maya sat by his hospital bed. Jack looked tired but alert, his color returning. You saved my life. You paid for groceries, she smiled softly. I figured we're even now. He chuckled weakly. Not even close. Then his voice dropped. You changed more than that day in the store. I'd been invisible for years, Maya. Money, success, none of it filled the silence. But your thank you. That woke something up. You and your kids, reminded me I used to feel things. She looked down, unsure what to say. So what now? She asked finally. Jack looked out the window, then back at her with something new in his eyes. Resolve. Now I do something that matters. 3 months later. The flyer read. The Rivera Foundation, launch event, supporting single parents with dignity and work. The crowd in the community hall wasn't huge, but it was full. Local officials. Business owners. Moms with strollers. Volunteers. Maya stood at the podium, nervous, her hands trembling slightly. 3 months ago, she began, my kids and I couldn't afford milk. A stranger paid. I thought that was the end of the story. She paused, glanced at Jack in the front row. But it was the beginning. Today, that same man has helped us start something that gives others more than groceries, it gives them the chance to rebuild their lives with pride. Applause filled the room. Jack smiled. Not the tight, polite kind he used to give. A real one. Later, As the room emptied, Maya approached him. "I've been meaning to ask you something," she said, slipping a folded envelope into his hand. He opened it, confused, and then froze. It was a birth certificate. Name, Emma Rivera. Father, unknown. But now, updated. Father, Jack Donovan. He looked up, speechless. Maya smiled through tears. "Emma's not mine biologically. I fostered her 3 years ago. Was planning to adopt. But she kept asking about the man in her drawing. Said he felt like home the day we met you." Jack's eyes welled. "You mean?" She asked if you could be her real dad. Jack looked over. Emma was watching them from across the room, her crayon in hand, hopeful. He knelt slowly and opened his arms. She ran to him. That night, Jack sat on his porch. A little girl asleep in his lap. The cold air didn't bite the same way anymore. Because sometimes you pay for milk. And life pays you back with a daughter you never knew you needed. One small act of kindness didn't just change someone's day. It built a family. And brought a man back to life.
Thank you for listening to this story. If it moved you a bit, leave something, write a comment, like the video. It helps us grow the channel and create more stories. See you in the next story from Stories for Each Day.